Alrighty, we should be live. Hopefully,
Hopefully.
this the software is glitching, but no big deal. No big deal, my friends. Billy,
Ango.
let me get confirmation that we're live.
Yeah. Can everybody in the chat let us know if we're live?
I hope it is. It looks like we are, but let me just double check.
Right. Let me.
What a botch, right? What a way to start.
Right.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we're live.
All right,
Everybody,
cool.
welcome. The Ango show is here live with Billy and Ango. And if I don't sound excited, that's completely capped because I was very, 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 very excited about tonight's WWE Raw. But Billy TKO is here to join me.
Yes, sir.
Billy, we just watched WWE Raw, the first WWE Raw following Royal Rumble, and there is a lot to discuss.
Yes.
A lot. And I wanted to discuss a lot with you, but before we could talk about that, I think I'm seeing a Lions hoodie. Is that what I see?
Yeah. I'm listen. All right, before we dive into the show, everybody, I get it. The Lions, they lost. I understand. Everybody's gonna call us losers. They're gonna call us what they want. But guess what, Ango? Guess what? It don't matter what those people think. You want to know why? Because MCDC is the man.
Woo!
Yes, sir.
All right, baby. Let's kick things off with a blaze. Let's go. WWE Raw tonight, in my opinion, was exceptional. A very, very good. A very good episode of Raw. A lot of things I liked. There was something that I think a lot of people are torn about on social media, and I absolutely love the idea of talking about this. Obviously, the title of the stream, Cody Rhodes challenging Seth Rollins. Is he going to face Roman Reigns? Is he going to finish his story? A lot of people are trying to argue with me and tell me it's not logical. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit because if there's anything I've learned, it's not to overreact to booking decisions by Triple H. And truth be told, it's an exciting thing because I think WWE has done a really good job, especially with the Triple H era. I think, just in general, like a lot of things make sense. In tonight's episode, a lot of focus across all the divisions and obviously some very disheartening news. I want to kick things off with a super chat because we got a super chat already. Guys, if you want to support the channel, you could drop a super chat. It guarantees that your questions and comments will get read. Sam Piboon says, when will we see Jade again on TV? This is obviously in regards to Jade Cargill. She got a video package today on WWE Raw. And I think this is a very, very easy question to answer. I think WWE will put her on TV soon. Yep. But I also want to reference, because it's not something I want to talk about too much on the show, but we could just talk about it. Yep. Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce backstage segment with Andrade. Nick Aldis he wanted Andrade, but Andrade signed with Raw. And Nick Aldis was interrupted by a phone call coming from Braun Breaker. And obviously, that's a tease that Braun Breaker is coming to SmackDown, which I think WWE will play into some sort of storyline with Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis trying to sign Jade. And I like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really think that the whole storyline with the GMs in general is outstanding stuff. It makes for good television. And to all the people that don't think that, I'm sorry, you're wrong. That is compelling TV. When I get drama, that's drama. Like, come on. That's good drama, too. So, yeah, they should have a big bidding war over Jade Cargill. I think she lands on SmackDown, me personally.
I can see that being the case, but they obviously tease something with Bianca and the Rumble and stuff. So there's a lot of ways to go about it. But, Sam, I don't think it's going to take too long. I think they want Jade for WrestleMania. And I think they can do something with Jade versus Bianca, which would be a nice big singles match.
Absolutely.
We'll see how it goes, obviously. Sam Piboon, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Appreciate you. Guys, let's just jump right into it. WWE Raw kicked off tonight with a major surprise. And no, CM Punk didn't technically kick off the show. WWE made a major change today. Pat McAfee came out, and when he walked to the commentary desk, there was not Wade Barrett. And Billy, Pat McAfee were big fans of this guy, but I didn't see Wade Barrett. What was your reaction to that?
I get a little upset, right? Because obviously the thing about them two, Wade Barrett and Michael Cole, is we became accustomed to him. And I think that's fair to say, right? We became accustomed to the two. They were fun. I enjoyed listening to Wade Barrett, and I can imagine he's going to go over and replace Kevin Patrick on SmackDown. To which him and Corey Graves I'm going to now have to get used to. And I know Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. And one thing that I did notice that we talked about before stream was that it felt a little off in the beginning.
Yeah.
Pat McAfee didn't seem all the way there. And then later in the show, you kind of seen it pick back up. And I was like, okay, all right, this is good. You know what I mean? So definitely happy to see Pat back on my TV on Monday nights. And I also love seeing Pat on my Saturday mornings too. So it doesn't matter where Pat goes. I'm a fan of Pat.
Yeah. I personally watch the Pat McAfee show. I love the way he covers sports, and I like Pat McAfee. There was a couple rough spots and stuff, but like that's the thing that kind of adds to the Pat McAfee thing, right? Like Pat McAfee is just passionate. He jokes around with Michael Cole. There was a couple times I was telling you, like, he referenced football instead of wrestling, and like that's okay with me. I don't care. At the end of the day, these guys are humans. And I really want to see WWE change their commentary style, similar to what the UFC and MMA companies are like, where it's just a little bit more natural dialogue. Obviously it's the more entertainment version, you know.
Yeah.
But Pat McAfee and Michael Cole are always great together. So they did make that change. We don't know if Wade Barrett's technically going to SmackDown, but I think it's safe to say that it is happening. But that was how we started off with Raw. So obviously Pat McAfee's music hitting, coming down to commentary, it was very clear that WWE was starting off hot. They reiterated that commercial-free first hour, right?
They really hit the head on that one.
And then we get this really, really good, passionate promo by CM Punk. And, you know, today, Billy, I was very disappointed in looking at the IWC community. And
I mean, if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it.
Yeah, like a lot of people, content creators, bloggers, high-profile accounts, tribalists, you know, avatar bot accounts, like the amount of people I saw today celebrating the rumored report of Punk being injured, it's crazy to me. I don't know where people in this community thought that is normal behavior, but it is not. These people have never had a conversation with these wrestlers that they judge in terms of, like, you know, it's like you don't even know these people, you know, and to celebrate somebody's injury, it's really unfortunate. And when we saw Punk's promo, the emotion that was invoked in that promo was really neat. And I want to say this was the one thing I really appreciate out of this promo. For those who missed it, Punk is missing WrestleMania. And he talked about fear. And he talked about he always feared WrestleMania. And he feared coming back after 10 years. And then one thing that he mentioned was I can't remember the exact name that he used, but he had a friend that's going through cancer.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could see like Punk is actually like legitimately shedding tears.
Yeah, he cried.
Real authentic, raw promo. And like, wow, like this is some baby face type stuff, but also at the same time too, like, forget about the wrestling character. This is huge. He talks
that was
about
Phil Brooks.
That was Phil Brooks, man. And I thought that was a really remarkable moment to open up the show. And it sucks, obviously, and we'll talk about this a little bit later too, but like Punk missing WrestleMania obviously sucks. He came back. Like, it's very unfortunate, but shame on the IWC celebrating somebody's injury. Anybody who's ever watched my channel knows that like this is like, I judge a wrestling show, and I'm not here. I cannot sit here. You guys don't hear me talk about wrestlers being good or bad wrestlers, right? I don't break that down. I don't talk about those things because at the end of the day, I'm not a wrestler. I get to share my opinion based on what I'm watching on TV. And I felt bad for Punk, bro. Like, this was a promo where I was like, fuck, like this is really like a real thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because he's injured. And then they kind of tie it into storyline as well.
Yeah. So to jump into what you're saying here. Yeah, man. It sucks for all parties involved, right? It sucks for Punk. It obviously sucks for the company, WWE. It really is just sad when you put it into perspective, and when you really weigh out what it is. It's sad. And I tried to stay off Twitter. I'm not a big Twitter user.
Yeah.
But to go online and see everybody and what they're saying, Yeah, man, it sucks. I don't know where somebody comes up with the idea to maybe praise something like that and
Yeah.
be like, yeah, this is good. No, it's never good. It's horrible. Um, I I I was sad watching the promo, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
For people who are frequent listeners to the show here, they definitely heard me. I had my story that I told, and obviously Phil Brooks, the human, means something to me.
Yeah.
So seeing that, it sucks, man. And but like he said, he said something about the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
He said that there's always next year, and I think that goes for my Detroit Lions too. Your Detroit Lions as well.
Yeah.
There's always next year.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the thing, man. Like I think there's a lot of people too who look at this segment and they're like, oh well, WrestleMania is completely screwed. And it's like, no, because you're not. I mean, you would think that if you don't watch the product, right? But like we all know for the past year, there's 5 or 6 guys who are capable and in storylines have been in a spot where it's like they can go and be a legitimate competitor for Seth Rollins. So obviously by watching the show, it's like, I don't really think WrestleMania is doom and gloom. Do I think it impacts Elimination Chamber? But then what's really amazing about this segment, and this is where I was like, okay, this is really cool. It was the moment in which Drew McIntyre's music hit. Drew McIntyre was eliminated by CM Punk.
Yeah.
And so having Drew McIntyre come out and he has this promo, which I think everybody who watches this live show understands like how much I genuinely enjoy watching Drew McIntyre on TV. He is absolutely incredible. And he delivers a line where he says something along the lines of, I'm going to live your WrestleMania dream again. But also, he said something about, I prayed that this would happen to you.
Man.
I targeted you. I did all of these things to you. And holy shit, you just took a very raw and real emotional promo and then used this moment to further Drew McIntyre's character development. And he did it in such a dark piece of shit way where I'm like, again, it's logical, right? We could talk about logic. My big thing in wrestling is logic, and Drew's whole character and everything he does every week, I'm going to keep saying this, it's logical. But it's also funny because I've been saying, he's kind of like a tweener in a weird way.
Yeah, I will say this though. I will say this though. You're starting to see the shift,
and it's happening.
Yes,
fast.
Yes,
and this is what I love about it. It's a slow burn.
It's very slow.
And I think, like, I get it. Slow burn is not great for absolutely everything, but with this for Drew, it's like it evolved into like, hey, like he's logical baby face, and like he feels like he got burned to the point where it's like, okay, he's kind of being a dickhead, but it still is a baby face. And then it got to the point where it's like he's kind of a tweener, right? Like it's like showing tendencies of both. But now when he says, I prayed for that to happen to you, and I enjoyed, I had a good night's rest. To me, that was like, oh, you're actually a dickhead.
Yeah, you're an asshole.
No, you're a dickhead. And I loved it. I loved it. I mean, listen, like obviously I'm a big Drew McIntyre fan, but what we're watching on TV, this is not just Drew McIntyre. This is Drew McIntyre who is like on a different level.
And one thing to mention is obviously we're sitting here praising Drew McIntyre for how he handled this situation. Obviously, Drew McIntyre, this is all storyline, does not really feel that way towards what happened.
I can't speak for how somebody really feels. I mean, maybe he actually is.
Yeah, maybe he does. Maybe he does, but I'm gonna guess that he doesn't.
Yeah.
But no, I will say that just watching Drew McIntyre and what he's going through, I see it in the chat. The Scottish psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah,
on a different level.
He is
900.
And that's the whole thing. Is this isn't the Scottish psychopath from years ago? You know what I mean? This is the real psychopath.
Yeah,
I don't think it has to do with Scottish or anything like that. It's a psychopath. It is somebody who is literally preying on the next person's downfall and will do anything to get it. It's a conniving heel.
Yeah.
And that's what he's going to be, is he's going to be that conniving heel. You've seen it a little bit tonight with Sami Zayn in the match where he low blows him and stuff like that. I'll do anything to get the win. Because remember, Drew hasn't gotten a win in a very long time, and now he gets this very important one with Sammy.
Well, I think he won last week. He's been winning a couple.
Right. It's been, again, we go back to the slow burn.
Yeah.
And it feels, I don't want to use the word because it is kind of a cheesy word, but magical in a sense.
No, it is magical.
Because it's like, man, like it goes back to, yes, CM Punk is out right now and he's going to be out for WrestleMania and it sucks. Yeah. But there are so many people that can just pick up the ball and run with it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
And so that's where I feel a little bit more at ease with the situation, because I think a lot of people are, I mean, you really, if you're not watching the product, it doesn't make sense to you, but like between Drew and Gunther and Damian Priest and Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, like there's a lot of ways they can go towards the World Heavyweight Championship. And so when I see Drew McIntyre pretty much has beef with everybody at this point, I mean, that's significant, right? Yeah. But then it kind of brings me back to what I've been telling people on the channel and obviously what I've been telling you. It's like, okay, is WWE leaning into Drew and his contract situation? This seems to be a topic we often talk about, but there is a little bit of intrigue there. Like Drew McIntyre just beat Sami Zayn tonight. Drew McIntyre attacked attacked CM Punk, excuse me. Like Drew McIntyre is an integral part of this show. And if you're watching Monday Night Raw every week, like Drew McIntyre is like, again, this is next level. This is something that WWE has perfected. So it's like, okay, well, why would they do all of that for this guy if he's not going to be under contract? And
right.
And I don't know, man. Like, I really don't know if he's in contract or out of contract. But what I do know is that if they haven't re-signed him, they need to pay him every single dollar that he wants, because this has become very compelling TV. And the moment that he attacked CM Punk, by the way, CM Punk tried to fight him with his brace on.
Dude, that was so cool.
It was cool, but I was almost like, okay, well, wait, hold on. Is Punk maybe like working an injury angle? Here's the thing. There's a lot of ifs, ands, maybes, what if, this, that. Like, there's a lot of things that could be applied to WWE programming, because I don't believe for a second half the reports that come out. And it's not like to the credibility of some of these people. Obviously, I cover a lot of wrestling headlines, and for me, Billy, the thing is, like, Triple H, I think he wants to run the show as best as he can without having to listen to the IWC, and he understands how quick the IWC reacts. And
so this is what I'm gonna say. It almost plays back to if you watch, if you are a consistent watcher of pro wrestling and you've watched for many years and watched when maybe you were younger, or whatever the case may be. You'll know that a lot of times they played in. I'm not going to sit here and say that Punk's injury is fake. I'm not going to say that.
100%. Yeah. I mean, those look like legitimate tears.
Right. Exactly. That man was in there crying. That was Phil Brooks. That's what we saw. But again, knowing who's running the show within Triple H, knowing that there are certain lines that in wrestling, again, if you remember what it used to be, you can touch on. Yeah. I remember Kevin Nash sitting in a wheelchair and then a blanket, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, again, you said it a little bit ago with the IWC and the way and how fast they'll react. Triple H is not making this show based. Is he seeing what you're saying? Absolutely. Is he taking everything that you're saying though? No, he's not. And he's going to run the show how he wants to.
And I think he knows. I mean, if Triple H doesn't know this, I'll be happy to tell him, right? But the IWC is very, very gullible when it comes to anything that comes from these reports. I mean, and it's not. And again, I've said this a million times. It's not. You got to look at the technical writing of everything. Sean Ross Sapp never said that CM Punk in WWE was never happening. Like, he never said that, right? But Sean Ross Sapp said, "Hey, like, based on our sources, they have not had talks," or whatever it may be, right? And then CM Punk, this is the problem, right? CM Punk does come back, and then people are like, well, you said he was never coming back. And it's like, no, he told you what the sources were saying, right?
Right.
And the sources from WWE, in my opinion, should be trying to throw people off, because the IWC, the casual audience who ain't like watching like Twitter and all this stuff, die hard. Like, they're not looking at my YouTube channel, or they're not looking at like these different things. For them, they don't care, right? For the people that do care, when we talk about these things, I'm sure it feels good for WWE to throw people off. And so for me personally, when I see this whole Drew McIntyre thing, and I've said this like a month or two ago, I was like, lean into it, make it the storyline.
Yeah.
Give him the belt and run the storyline of he didn't re-sign.
Right.
He's working without a contract. Like there's so many things that they can do. And again, I don't know. I haven't seen anything that says he hasn't re-signed or he has re-signed. But when I see this stuff happening with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, I'm just thinking, hey, is CM Punk actually injured? Somebody in the chat said, well, why would they try to lie about an injury? Like, why would they try to work you into that? Here's why. CM Punk, he's got to be on TV, but we're going into WrestleMania. He shouldn't be on TV absolutely every single week, working matches, putting himself at risk for an actual injury. Like, it could make sense to do something to write him off TV a little bit. Do I think they would do that? No, but do I think it's possible? I think literally anything in WWE right now is possible because, again, I don't think they want everybody to know exactly what's happening.
You got to think, and again, I want to clarify that this may not be the case, and chances are it is not. This man could actually 100% be hurt. You know what I mean? Like,
I think he is.
Yes, so do I. But
yeah,
you see a video of him going up to the ref, and they're using the fans' footage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like those things. Like you never know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, let it play out. If we don't see him for a couple weeks and then he pops back up, don't get upset. No, they ribbed you. They got you. You know what I mean?
I don't think I genuinely don't think Punk's injured.
No. And I do want to clarify that. I do 100% think that Punk is injured.
Yeah.
But just under the circumstance, wrestling and what it used to be, you could get away with something like this. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying I'm not putting it past Triple H that anything could be scripted, right? And I think that's because they want to make things a little bit unpredictable while being predictable at the same time. But that's why it was an interesting thought process that I had, because when CM Punk was getting attacked, I'm like, oh, well, like, would they really do that if he's hurt?
Then they showed him in the background getting helped out by the trainer. You know what I mean?
So it's just, anyways, I'm like, look, I'm sure whatever happened, obviously doctors cleared it, whatever. I don't know.
Right.
Especially Punk, who has been very vocal about doctors in WWE in the past.
No, I didn't even think about that up until now.
Nobody did. And that's why I'm just saying, like, it's always an interesting twist. You never know. I think he's legitimately injured, but if he got cleared from the doctor to take the bump, because people got to remember, from the time that he reportedly got injured, he was still wrestling the rest of the match.
Right.
But at the same time,
but it also could explain why people felt the match at the very end in the Royal Rumble was kind of off.
It would make sense.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying, like, with this whole Punk thing, it was just one of those moments where, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving you guys any insight from a medical standpoint. But what I would say is, like, I think they said tore tricep. I don't know. I don't know how that works with a tore tricep. I've never had one. I don't know what physical abilities or limitations you have. I don't know. But what I would say is, when he was getting his ass beat, it actually set up a really good moment, because WWE, again, revisiting something massive, which was Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn.
Yep.
So Sami Zayn, he takes out Drew McIntyre. They start brawling and stuff, and then the main event is set up for the end of the night, which is great. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. We did get another super chat from Denisha Lane for $1.99. She says, Ango, do you think Drew and Sammy at WrestleMania? So I'm glad the super chat came in, Denisha, because I did want to actually talk about WrestleMania, which is what everybody's freaking out about on social media today, which is Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes.
Oh, let's talk about it.
So let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation about this. A lot of people believe that WWE, because of Punk's injury, they are pivoting away from Cody and Roman to Cody and Seth. And I'm not saying this is impossible. I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm judging based on the TV product and based on what WWE is doing and what WWE has done and what I see on my screen. In order for me to correctly assess this, I have to preface everything by saying my two eyes and my two ears were glued to the screen when this segment happened. Okay? Cody Rhodes talks about WrestleMania. Seth Rollins interrupts him, and Seth Rollins says that he wants Cody Rhodes to pick Seth Rollins for WrestleMania instead of Roman Reigns. And the reason why he says this is basically he's making a plea with Cody Rhodes that the World Heavyweight Championship is more of a dusty championship. It's the workhorse title. It's the blue collar championship. You know, Rollins is a working man. They brought this belt in because Roman's never there. The Roman belt is the Hollywood belt. It's the Hulk Hogan belt. It's the part-time never show up belt, like that type of thing. And so Seth Rollins logically says you should pick me because this is more of a Dusty Rhodes belt than anything. And obviously the crowd reaction to this is kind of interesting because people don't want to see Cody like not finish the story. They don't want to see that. They want to see Cody finish the story. And so I see a lot of people on social media arguing about this. Now, Billy, correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
When Cody Rhodes responded to Seth Rollins making this plea, did Cody Rhodes say, "You're right, Seth, I want to face you at WrestleMania"?
Nope.
Did he say, "No, Seth, I want to face Roman Reigns"?
Nope.
Can you tell me what Seth Rollins said? Or I'm sorry, what Cody Rhodes said. Excuse me.
We'll see.
I have to think about it.
We'll see. I'll have to think about it. We'll see. Absolutely.
So let me just play into this.
Okay.
There's two or three factors I want us to focus on, and I'm just gonna pull open the phone because I kind of wrote down some bullet points to just keep me on track.
I like it.
Because you see, Billy, a lot of people are saying that this is WWE pivoting from Roman and Cody.
Yeah, let's go ahead and have this discussion.
So I'm curious how they're pivoting from Cody or Roman. Quite a few people are saying that Cody Rhodes changed his mind all of a sudden because Seth Rollins said, "Pick me." So a couple things I want to factor in here. You guys could tell me if you agree or disagree, but let's talk logic. Seth Rollins lost 3 matches to Cody Rhodes. Seth Rollins lost 3 matches to Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes' whole story has never been about getting back to Seth once Seth won the belt. The whole story has always been Cody and Roman. Is there a chance that maybe Seth Rollins, without telling everybody, could be acting like a heel at the moment? There's a couple factors for this. Why would I think so? Since Cody Rhodes has been back in the WWE, he has never been heel. He's always been a babyface. Seth Rollins has been a heel in the WWE before, obviously, but then he became this champion, and he's obviously been a big babyface, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Seth Rollins has a lot of heelish tendencies because he's been a heel. It's in his past. It's in his blood. It never goes away. Despite the fact that WWE is telling you he's a babyface and he's acting like a babyface, can they be gearing up towards Seth Rollins being a heel? Why would Seth Rollins want Cody Rhodes to pick him? Well, for one, the most logical reason is it's the Raw, the WrestleMania main event for night 2.
Yep.
We know this, right? So what do you get if you're a main eventer? You get more money, you get more fame, you get more of all of these different things that Seth Rollins would want. Why else would Seth Rollins want Cody to verse him instead of Roman Reigns? Do you think Seth Rollins really gives a shit about what the belt is like? If Seth Rollins is a heel, if he were to turn heel, it would make more sense for Seth Rollins to want Cody because he's guaranteed the main event. He doesn't have to play second fiddle. He doesn't want this title to be treated as a secondary title. He doesn't want himself to be overlooked as if he's not good enough or on the same level as Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins wants this not because he wants anything for the belt. It's really for himself. If he were to turn heel. But one thing that a lot of people are also not factoring, and like I said, there's a couple different factors, but one thing that people aren't really factoring with Seth here is that Seth is making this about himself and his belt because his belt has never been given love from Cody Rhodes, who has Seth Rollins' number. At the end of the day, Seth Rollins is this fighting champion, but he internally doesn't feel like a champion. Why? Because he never beat Cody, and Cody's going to overlook Seth. Why is he going to overlook Seth? I know I could beat Seth. I did it 3 times. I did it with a torn pec. I need to beat Roman Reigns because I didn't beat Roman Reigns. The story for the last year has always been Roman Reigns.
So, can I hop in?
Go ahead.
I want to ask a question, not just to you, but to everybody in the chat as well.
Hit me.
Imagine you're at your workplace, your everyday 9 to 5, right? Imagine you've been there for years on end and you've been busting your ass for the company. You've been putting in the work all day, every day, right?
Yeah.
And somebody waltzes in, and they waltz in, and maybe you've been looking for the manager position, or maybe you've been looking to just move up in the company in general, right? And they kind of just give you this thing. They're like, hey, here's this quote unquote, I'll never forget what people were calling it, consolation prize. Here is this belt. You can have it just in our reference, we'll use new position, right? You've moved up just a tad bit though. But then this other guy who was a part of the competition, right? Competition was there and he was putting on for them and then waltzes back in and gets every single opportunity that you had but failed at. And then on top of that, he beats you at your own job. So let me ask you this. Would you be okay with somebody doing that to you? Or would you say you're okay, but deep down it eats you alive?
Nah, listen, you're asking the wrong person. Because when I before I did this full time, right? Yeah. I would walk into work. I'm the best. I don't care what anybody else says.
Okay.
I don't care what anybody else does. Okay. I'm the best.
Okay. So to argue that, what does a heel do? What does the bad guy do? The heel doesn't think that they're the best because they always have that second doubt, that second little piece that maybe I'm not that good. And if I'm not, how can I be? So when Seth walks out and he talks about the belt and he used Dusty as a reference.
Why? Because Cody's biggest thing is Dusty.
Yes.
Dusty.
On top of this, I seen it in the chat a little bit. Dusty never held that belt.
This is not about Dusty holding the belt or anything.
It's not.
Like that. It's not.
It has nothing to do with the belt, and it has everything to do with Seth Rollins is just trying to get the one thing that he couldn't get. He couldn't beat Roman. So what's the next best thing? Because he couldn't beat Cody? Oh, man, I need Cody to pick me. Cody has to pick me.
I think
compelling TV.
It's compelling, but there, like I said, there's some more factors I want to throw out there because it's so important. But
yeah,
I think people really need to realize with this whole situation, if you are a fighting champion, right? Why would you be okay with this guy whose whole thing is like overlooking you? Cody constantly overlooks Seth, right? It makes so much sense for Seth to come out here and plead with him.
So like, much so that they shook hands.
Here's the thing, right? They talk about respect and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that I love so much about this, which is so funny that I catch flack for this, but I like this so much because not only is it logical for Seth to do this, but it is also logical for Cody Rhodes, the babyface, to say, I'll think about it, right? Now, let me be perfectly clear. People are ruining their own experience watching wrestling by saying, oh, well, this is WWE pivoting because of CM Punk injury. That could be a possibility. That's a what if. That might be. That could very well be a possibility. But the thing is, you're making that assumption based on no merit, nothing that they've told you. You put it into your head, you're locked and loaded with that thought process, and you think that's why this is happening. I don't think this is why it's happening. Roman Reigns is not a full-time champion. Roman Reigns will not be on weekly TV building up with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is also not a member of the SmackDown roster. They need to do something from now until WrestleMania to prolong Cody and Roman. this is just one episode, right? This is just one episode. They can't do this every single week. But Cody's whole story has been about Roman. Seth Rollins said some very good possible reasons as to why Cody should choose Seth. However, Cody has always been laser focused on Roman. If you use common sense, and this happens to everybody who's ever lived, right? There comes a time in your life where there's something that you are so sure on, and you immediately react and go with it, right? You may have made a mistake by overthinking or overlooking the potential other possibilities. To relate it to Cody, Cody immediately won WrestleMania, pointed at the sign, then pointed at Roman Reigns, right?
Instantly. Yep.
Instantly. Cody Rhodes, just like many other humans, may have jumped the gun without possibly thinking about the other thing. And that's because Cody has, for a year now, been laser focused on Roman. He never thought about the other possibility. And I like this because it's logical.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. Let's see exactly what happens. Because if WWE leads with Cody and Seth Rollins, as much as logical as Seth Rollins' plea is, it is the dumbest decision that they can do. But Billy, you know why?
I do know why.
Because there's 6 other people on Raw that can fight against Seth Rollins.
And you want to know who one of those people is?
Who? Please tell me.
Drew McIntyre.
Ah, wow. And it's so crazy because I think I'm pretty sure 99.9% positive before CM Punk came back, I was speculating and fantasy booking Drew versus Seth, right? So my point that I was trying to make was this entire time that Seth is making his plea with Cody, it makes sense for Seth to do it. And what's even better about this is that it makes sense for Cody to say, I'll think about it, because just like many other people, you have to make the right decision. Do I think this was a smokescreen? Yes. Do I think this is Triple H and WWE saying, ha, 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 we know you want Cody to finish the story, but now we're going to play with you a little bit. Why? Because you're going to make the moment so much more impactful. And that's what this is to me. I think if you use logic, this is WWE saying, hey, this is to make Seth feel like part of the conversation, right?
Yep.
Which, as you should, because if there's everyone wins the Royal Rumble, why is it a foregone conclusion? It's the same thing with Nia Jax and Rhea Ripley and fucking Bayley on TV. You do this on purpose to make it feel like, hey, she could actually choose one of the two.
They are just doing shit that they used to. They are just doing shit that they used to do, and the fans have forgot about it because they've been conditioned to other shit before.
Yeah.
Triple H is just doing shit that they used to do back in like 2006.
Yeah.
He's just bringing it back to TV. That's it. Like,
you know, continue.
It's insane that all these people come out here and they're like, yeah, I'm a wrestling fan. Are you? Because he's just doing the shit that he used to do. If people look at the factions, right? I'm going to kind of shift gears here, but it's all going to lead to one point. Look at the factions, right? You see these factions on TV. People don't realize Evolution, right, came up by Vince McMahon. It had everything to do with Triple H. So what does Triple H likes? Factions. Okay, right? He likes factions. That was his idea.
So here's the thing, though. Let's not talk about factions. Let's stay on point with Seth, right? If you're a champion and you're guaranteed the main event by the Royal Rumble winner choosing you, right? You're guaranteed the main event. You're guaranteed the biggest marquee match. You're guaranteed the press. You're guaranteed the money, right? Because you're in the main event and stuff like that. Why would I ever be content with me getting looked over?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't. So it makes sense for Seth Rollins to come out there. But let's go back to the heelish thing, right? I've said for a while, I think Seth turns heel after WrestleMania, right?
It makes logical sense.
I think this completely went over people's head, but I think Seth Rollins is doing this for himself because he is selfish at the end of the day. He's always been a selfish wrestler. His whole gimmick is him being selfish.
That's a prick.
It's the crowd singing his song. It's there to fill his ego. He needs Cody to boost his ego at the end of the day. So what I think is very, very clear is that this is smokescreen. This is another way to extend the slow burn. Cody has faced adversity. We have faced a ton of slow burn with Cody and Roman. But I stand on business. I said this last year before WrestleMania 39. I said when Cody Rhodes, the day he won the Royal Rumble, he's going to lose at WrestleMania and he'll do it next year. And I think WWE has been on par with that. We keep saying this. We keep talking about this. And at the end of the day, I think that's the direction that they're going. What's also very, it's very logical. But I do want to be very clear. Cody Rhodes, yes, he should consider it. In storyline, he should consider it because that is what a normal fucking person would do. You would consider all your options, right? But Cody Rhodes, a lot of people also maybe had this go over their head. Cody Rhodes' whole vision for the WWE Championship was to win the belt that his dad didn't win. The reason why he wanted Roman Reigns was because Roman held that belt and Roman beat Cody and cheated Cody out of winning the one thing his dad never won. Cody's never become a WWE champion. That's the storyline. That's why the story involves Roman Reigns and the WWE Championship. But the one thing that I love in particular about this story, Billy, and this is the thing that I really, really love here. Seth Rollins talking about it's the Hulk Hogan belt. It's the Hollywood belt. It's the belt that, it doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
Why are people acting like a big baby face like Cody Rhodes wouldn't want to change the perception of that belt?
That's the whole thing.
Yes, Seth, great point. Good job, buddy. You're right. This belt, yeah. Technically speaking, you're right. It is.
Yeah, it's 100%. It's the Hollywood belt.
The Rock came back, took it from CM Punk. I get what you're coming from. I know. I've watched WWE's product. Cody Rhodes is the ultimate babyface. Cody Rhodes should win that belt and change the perception of that belt. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're one of these people that really hate the idea of Cody and Roman, let me just remind you, I need that belt off of Roman. We need that belt off of Roman.
And I can't have it go on The Rock.
And again, we said this last stream, but you want The Rock and Roman?
Come on.
No. You don't need it. You don't need it at WrestleMania. Cody can finish the story. And I think this is the cool thing, right? I think a lot of people really just like being reactionary and stuff. But when you really think this through, I think this is smokescreen. I think WWE is trying to keep you on your toes to make you think it's not going to happen. I think WWE, honestly, for a minute, I was like, oh, Cody should beat Roman clean. Nah, I think the fucking whole bloodline should absolutely suck at WrestleMania. They should all let Roman down. Cody should beat Roman Reigns. Cody has a little bit of a justification for how he dropped the belt, but at the same time, too, you make Cody Rhodes Super Cody, who destroyed the bloodline. He took care of Solo. He took care of Jimmy. He took care of Roman. He fucking won the belt. He's the Superman of WWE, and he's going to bring prestige to that belt. Like Seth Rollins said, Roman fucking ruined it. Cody's going to save the day. Cody is a superhero. That's what it is in reality. To me, that's how I look at it. And I think it's going to happen. I think Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns still happens. Seth Rollins and Punk was not the plans before Punk came into the company. Triple H has clearly had long-term booking. So any person who's sitting here like, oh, WrestleMania was ruined, bro, Punk just came back 2 months ago. You're telling me Triple H didn't have plans with Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre and all these guys? That just tells me that you're not watching the product every single fucking Monday, because clearly they've been building and building and building. Punk came back. Okay, we can go with this instead. Punk getting injured fucking blows. Denisha, to answer your question, Drew and Sammy is a wonderful idea. Or you can have Drew versus Seth, or you can have Gunther versus Seth. You can do any one of these things, and based on what we've seen on TV, congratulations, it all makes sense.
Everything's logical. Everything leading up into WrestleMania is logical. You hit it right on the head. Yeah, I mean, Punk was never slated for WrestleMania 2 months ago. Especially when they've gone out and they've said, oh, we talked to him a week ago and just brought him back in. No. Triple H has a plan. People need to trust the process. They need to understand where this is going, where this is leading. What is the real mission here? Does it suck? Absolutely. One thing I'm going to say is that I think my logic here is that we may actually see night one of WrestleMania be Bayley and Io Sky.
Yep, I was just going to say that as well.
I do think that now with Punk being injured, that you can have, and it pays respect to the Royal Rumble winners.
Yep.
It pays a lot of respect to say, hey, If you've won the Royal Rumble, you will 100% be guaranteed the final match on the card of WrestleMania, because that's the whole point of the Royal Rumble. It is, who are we going to invest in the absolute most to put on this TV show? Cody Rhodes winning the Royal Rumble tells me that he's main eventing night 2 of WrestleMania. He will be the last match that we see on the card of WrestleMania. And there's only one person big enough to go face to face with Cody Rhodes on that night.
Yeah.
Night 2. And it is Roman Reigns. And I've seen a lot of people speculate that, a triple threat match, blah, 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 with The Rock. Don't need it. Don't care.
Rock, it's really not complicated. Wrestling fans, myself included, all of us included, we all do this. We overbook it and like really complicate things. But Cody versus Roman night 2, night 1 needs a main event. And now, Billy, you did bring up Bayley.
Yeah.
They use the verbiage main event, WrestleMania main event.
Yep.
Now, you're going to have a lot of people debate this, right? But with CM Punk being injured, do you keep Seth Rollins as the main event for WrestleMania? Or do you follow along with the verbiage of the Royal Rumble? Because here's the thing, and this is going to come down to preference, right?
Yeah.
There's 3 matches right now that I can say 100% can main event night 1. So first one was Justin Kennington's super chat. Gunther versus Seth, title for title at Mania. 1,000,000% based on television for the last year. Both of these guys can main event it, and title for title does make it really, really big marquee match.
And 100%. It makes it a marquee for the Intercontinental Championship. That's just me throwing it out there.
So, but I want to point this out, though, because this part is also very important. A lot of people aren't factoring this in. WWE uses the verbiage main event. WWE historically, we don't know how Triple H will do, but historically, sometimes being the main event is also the co-main event. Or, we've heard this whole thing where it's like, we have 4 main events on this pay-per-view.
Well, it's funny because technically, if you put it into perspective, CM Punk actually did main event a WrestleMania. If you're gonna use the verbiage that way,
that's what I'm saying. On a technical scale, I don't know. WWE could be kind of funny with that. That's one of the things I don't like about WWE. But I think you can argue Gunther versus Seth. You can argue Drew versus Seth. There's 4 matches: Gunther versus Seth, Drew versus Seth, Bayley and Io can main event, which, by the way, will be a phenomenal match. Both of them can go in the ring. And by the way, that's a storyline that's been told for the last year.
And it's been on my TV.
It's been on my TV. It's a big marquee storyline. It's a big reason why SmackDown's great. But you can also go Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch, which they've planted the seed several months ago, but now you would start building to it.
See, I still think that you 100% go with Bayley and Io. I stand by that. The winner, and honestly, if you want me to be 100% honest, I even think you do it without Seth and Punk. I know that's big, but when you think about the Royal Rumble and you take it back to what it once was and all of those things, and I know I use the past a lot, but I think it's just what I was used to when watching wrestling when I was younger. You know what I mean? It's that when somebody won the Royal Rumble, they would go on to main event. You know what I mean? It would be the last thing that you see on the show. And I really think that Bayley, number one, earned it, right? And is earning it currently. I think I've talked about it a little bit, but not necessarily so much publicly, is that it kind of reminds me of Batista and Triple H in 2005 when Batista chose, who the clipboard and who they had to choose, right? That same story, I think, is about to be told with Bayley, and it's so simple and it's so captivating, and it's fun and it's exciting. And I know we talk about Gunther versus Seth, and we talk about Drew versus Seth, and we talk about Sami Zayn versus Seth, or Jey Uso versus Seth, and I get all of that, right? And I think they're all fair arguments to main event, but I just think at the end of the day, if you're going to respect that match and what it really means, Bayley should 100% main event night 1 of WrestleMania against Io Sky. The story is captivating as well, and they're making it more captivating as time goes on. Look at Bayley.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you look at Bayley, and this is not a shot towards Bayley and Io by any means. They are 2 of my favorites in the company. But if you look at them, the name value for WWE is a little bit lesser than CM Punk and Seth, right?
So we also need to think about who's booking the show, right? Because yes, name value did matter before. With Vince McMahon, it was all marquee.
But at the same time, too, Triple H has the big marquee match for night 2. So this is the thing that I do like about having 2 nights of WrestleMania. You have
won the first last year.
You have night 1, night 2, tag team championship match main event in night 1, right? And so that was very significant, which is why I would be totally cool with Io versus Bayley main eventing, 100%. I think Triple H, perhaps maybe even Endeavor, when they brought in CM Punk, it was like, hey, we have to go with this, which I can understand that, right?
Right, yeah.
But what I would actually do if I were WWE, Punk will be back. I think this would be a really good long-term fantasy booking. Have Bayley and Io main event night 1 or Rhea Ripley and Becky main event night 1. Either one I think will be great for a lot of reasons, right?
Yeah.
And WWE will obviously have a tough choice, but any one of those can main event, right?
Yep.
Let the women main event this year, night 1. CM Punk comes back, he should win the Royal Rumble. 1,000,000% CM Punk should win the 2025 Royal Rumble. Let him win the Royal Rumble.
Let him go tell his story.
Let him do it. And you know, this kind of sucks, right? The summer of Punk is essentially over this year, right?
I mean, it depends, right? Because can he come back beforehand? Will he? I mean, those are questions that have yet to be asked.
Don't know, but obviously he'll come back as a major babyface. But what you can do is have Punk win the Royal Rumble, right? Go to WrestleMania main event. He could get his main event next year. Next year, we'll see what happens. I'm sure if Cody's champion by then, he's got to defend it to somebody. I don't know. It depends what the belt looks like, because you can always do CM Punk, which obviously we got to factor in championship reigns and stuff. But
yeah, and how long they should last and stuff like that.
WWE did something tonight, Billy. You didn't notice it. I didn't notice it until after the fact. Last week, CM Punk said, Cody, will we still be friends? Whatever, after Royal Rumble.
And then CM Punk.
They didn't interact tonight.
No.
They didn't interact in the promo.
But CM Punk mentioned him.
He did. I would like to wish you a congratulations, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Well deserved. You earned it, right? Which is cool. But Cody never answered Punk. He never came out and said, oh, get well soon, buddy. We're still friends. He didn't acknowledge that portion. I bring this up because if you want to do Cody versus Punk next year at WrestleMania, which, by the way, Cody dropping the belt to Punk would never be a bad thing, in my opinion. But you can always have Cody and Punk next year at WrestleMania main eventing. Punk gets to finish his story, right? You can do something along those lines, right? Yeah. And what's cool is the women don't have to be impacted this year, because maybe next year they won't have the opportunity to do a women's match in the main event. I don't know. We can't fantasy book and guesstimate what's going to happen next year. But Punk coming back, winning the Rumble, turning heel to eventually defeat Cody, that's how he had to finish his dream. That's how he had to make his reality better. He had to be a heel, which I think would actually be great, compelling TV. Punk being a heel, Cody being a babyface.
Right.
And I think you could play off into the fact that Cody never came back. You could play off to the fact that Cody never said anything about respecting him and having that friendship. CM Punk just got injured. So what would be the reason for Punk coming back, winning the Rumble, turning heel, and facing Cody next year? It's, hey, I had enough respect for you to congratulate you. You never called me. You never texted me.
Right. Yeah. That's it's simple.
It's simple stuff. And that's what I'm saying. It's very long into the future, and I don't want to go too far into the future. But what I'm saying is, for a lot of people who are thinking about this segment, they are not in a situation whatsoever where you need to panic. And I truly believe that Punk's injury does not change course for WrestleMania. The fact that so many people are scared about this, they're putting it in their head. But I just want to reiterate this for the 1,000th time. If Cody chooses Seth Rollins, I will be very disappointed.
I'm just saying, I mean, because there's two options in my mind for next year. If we're going to fantasy book, I'll just go ahead and throw my matches out there that I possibly think. Okay, you want a fantasy book? Let's fantasy book. Cody Rhodes can main event night 1 with the WWE Championship. He can go up against Randy Orton or CM Punk.
Yeah.
Night 2, guess what you guys get? If you want to wait this long and they're talking about it, Rock and Roman.
I don't even want to think of Rock and Roman because at this point I don't think Rock and Roman. But
no, you don't. But I understand that WWE may do it just because they feel like they have to now.
And but also too, Netflix, the WrestleMania on Netflix, it's accessible to everybody. Like there's a lot of game-changing reasons as to why they can do that match at WrestleMania next year. But yeah, this is one of those things. I think a lot of people are overthinking it. I think a lot of people, and I get it, people are scared that Cody's not going to finish the story. I don't think that's a concern. Again, I think everything's smokescreen. This whole thing of The Rock coming back and taking up Cody's spot. I mean, I don't think it's all been bullshit. They're trying to swerve people.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it.
How can we get people constantly talking about our product? They're doing a great job.
And that's what they're doing. And also, too, what's really, really cool is when Cody inevitably faces Roman, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it's inevitable. And Cody defeats Roman.
Yeah.
Oh, Seth couldn't beat him. He didn't choose Seth. He beat Seth. Cody beat Seth. Cody beat Roman. Seth couldn't beat Roman. Seth didn't get chosen by Cody, who beat him 3 times. Seth has never had the chance for him to come back and get his win back. Yeah, it justifies a heel turn for Seth Rollins, which I think Seth is in need of a character change. I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm just fucking incredibly smart at using my brain, and this is all one great theory that just sounds really realistic. Or maybe it's me just being optimistic and hopeful that WWE is not going to fuck me this year by giving me Cody and Seth instead of Roman and Cody. But at the same time, too, if this is the route that WWE goes, I would be very, very fucking disappointed. And then I truly, genuinely mean that. I would be very, very upset by that decision.
It'd be underwhelming.
Not underwhelming. They can have a great match. They can do some great stuff there. I'm not saying it's going to be bad storytelling or bad setup or bad match or anything like that. I'm sure it'll be fine. But what I just wasted a year on was Cody and Roman.
For what I've seen on my TV.
Yeah.
For the past year.
And that's the story that they told for over a year. So at the end of the day, that's where I'd be upset, is that you just kept me watching for an entire year only to do the exact opposite. And again, if WWE needed to pivot, I would say, I get it. I understand. I wouldn't like it, but I would be like, I at least get it. Right. But I wouldn't get it because they don't need to pivot. This is not a situation where you click a panic button. And for any person who thinks that that's what this is, I think you're not watching the product. I genuinely feel like you're not watching the product. You don't know what's happening in this product, because there's just been too much stuff happening where before Punk came back, there was still so many more options and things to do. And what makes it even so much better, and this is why I do appreciate Justin sending the super chat, is title for title is actually a bigger match than Seth and Punk, by the way, based on what we've seen on TV, because they're both been the workhorsemen defending that belt.
So it's the 2 workhorses going up against one another.
100%. So that's why I kind of want to bring that up. Obviously, we spent a lot of time talking about this, but to me, it's incredibly important that people actually understand what's at stake here. There is nothing that impacts WrestleMania. But I do want to throw something out to you, Billy.
Bring it up.
Elimination Chamber.
Yes.
No Seth.
Nope.
No Punk.
Nope.
No Charlotte.
Nope.
No, who else am I missing? No Gunther. Gunther can't wrestle overseas. As of now, that from my understanding, that's still not cleared where he'll be able to wrestle there.
Yeah.
So clearly Australia could be having a massive pay-per-view with less star power.
Yeah.
I have a couple theories of what I would do to make up for the fact that Rollins and Punk and Charlotte and all these people can't wrestle there. Before I tell you mine, I kind of just want to hear from you, because we're talking about the road to WrestleMania. So we got to make Elimination Chamber build to WrestleMania based on these injuries. What exactly are you doing to change Elimination Chamber?
Well, I think one of the women's championships needs to be defended on this show. I think that's almost like a guarantee. Whether it be in an Elimination Chamber match or just a singles match, I think that they need to build for something big. I think Nia Jax, and then I think Rhea Ripley is the person to have defend her title on this show. Also, I believe I'm not sure if they're getting Roman or not, but I think if you really wanted to play into it, this is maybe a long shot, but you can almost do a contract signing on
at
this
the pay-per-view.
Show, at the pay-per-view.
I know. Yeah, do your thing.
Let it be where Cody announces that he's going up against Roman, or beforehand. I don't know. It's just a long shot, and maybe I'm shooting here. I don't know. But it just all depends. I don't know if they're getting Roman, because that's still all up in the air right now. Obviously they need a chamber match to decide who's going to go up against the world heavyweight champion. Under the circumstance that Cody does choose Roman, which he will. It's neither here nor there. But I do believe that if they do not get Roman, I need a women's match and I need a men's number one contendership. But you're doing this in front of, what's it advertised for? 60,000 people?
Mm-hmm.
And now, because Punk was advertised.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. Yeah. It's all up in the air in my personal opinion. I truthfully, it's kind of not having Punk as a curveball.
Okay. Elimination Chamber. This is what you can do. And then we're going to kind of tie it into WrestleMania.
Okay.
Elimination Chamber, Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley. Nia Jax has been, I'm happy to say this, but she has been booked very well and she's performing very well.
Very strong.
Very, very well. The booking has actually been really good, but it's not even just the booking that's good. Like, I notice a lot more difference in Nia Jax's performance since coming back. Like, kudos to her. She's I don't know.
Training.
She's not even just training, but just like way more. She looks way more comfortable there. She looks great. Nia versus Rhea. Rhea Ripley doing some incredible stuff with Nia. You get the big baby face reaction, right? It's in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Then at Elimination Chamber, you got to have a men's chamber match to set up Seth Rollins' WrestleMania opponent. This is where you have Drew McIntyre. You have Damian Priest. Even though he has the Money in the Bank briefcase, you do put him in Elimination Chamber because he guarantees himself the match if he wins, right? You got to have some credible names.
Absolutely.
You're going to put Sami Zayn in there. You're going to put, at this point, you should put in a couple dark horses, right? Ludwig Kaiser would be kind of fun because he's, they want to showcase him as a singles guy as well. So you could put Ludwig Kaiser. You can put Bronson Reed if you want. I would do a singles match for Bronson Reed personally, because obviously he's from Australia, but you can do things like that.
My problem is that just last week, or what was it, 2 weeks ago with Bronson Reed, that they said he was going for a title. Yeah. Now I'm hoping that leads into Seth.
Well, he lost to Jey Uso.
Right.
Obviously, if Seth is not wrestling on Elimination Chamber, Bronson Reed can't do anything other than go for the Intercontinental Championship.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to wait and see kind of the direction that they go. But with Elimination Chamber, you keep it to 5 or 6 matches. You have the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. You don't have to do Io Sky because you got to do a Women's Chamber as well, right? So the Women's Chamber should not be Nia Jax. Like, she can't be in that match because she's getting her chance, right? But the women's match, this is where you showcase your women. And thankfully, WWE, they're having a couple women that are having a hard time getting over, but they're really good talent. And if anybody who's ever watched Candice LeRae wrestle in the Indies, this would be a really fun match, right?
Yeah.
So you can do something with Candice LeRae, Mi Chin. You can do Zelina Vega. You can do... who else? I mean, literally just based off what you've seen on TV. If Dakota Kai is cleared, you could put Dakota Kai in the chamber if you want, which I think could be kind of fun based on
that
this
adds depth.
Damage control story, and there's something there. You have opportunities. If you want, if Raquel is cleared, she could come in there. If you want, you could even do something with Bianca Belair in the women's chamber. You do the women's chamber for number 1 contendership. Number 1 contendership for the males, right? You got to do a tag team match. You got to do a tag team championship match. My belief is that before Elimination Chamber starts, Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce split up those tag titles, and only one set of those titles will be defended at the chamber. And it's going to be DIY versus Judgment Day
for the Raw
titles. Judgment Day will still carry the SmackDown belts. This will cause more friction that they drop the belts going into WrestleMania, right? bear with me because this is where it gets really good. DIY wins the World Tag Team Champions that are on Raw.
Yep.
Judgment Day will still have technically the SmackDown belts. Now, with that being said, what you end up doing at WrestleMania is that Judgment Day has to face a SmackDown tag team at WrestleMania.
Okay.
Then you have Judgment Day drop those belts to a babyface tag team on SmackDown. Could be the Street Profits. It could be
Butch or not Butch, Pete Dunne and
Tyler Bate. Yeah,
Tyler Bate. Yep.
You could do that. You have a couple different options, right? If you really, really want, you can do multi-man matches for both as well.
Yep.
You know, but there should be new tag teams crowned at Elimination Chamber because you got to make this crowd happy. You're obviously you're not gonna have a lot of star power there.
Right.
DIY winning the tag titles against Judgment Day, 2 out of 3 falls match, like you said before, or maybe like a tornado tag elimination match. I don't know, but I could see them running it back. Elimination Chamber, 5 matches: men's chamber, women's chamber. Io Sky doesn't have to defend their belt because the Nia Jax Rhea Ripley match is on there. You get the tag team championship match, and you do a United States championship with Logan Paul, which if I was WWE, I don't know if I would put Grayson Waller in there only for him to lose in Australia, but you can do something like that if you want. I don't know. And really the cool thing about that chamber match is depending on the participants in each one, those are your main events, you know?
Yeah.
Then you get to WrestleMania though. You have, in theory, your 2 women's championship matches, 2 different tag team championship matches, Gunther Intercontinental Championship match,
Logan Paul
US Championship match. Then you can do your typical battle royal, which I think if you're Triple H, you should 100% book a battle royal for WrestleMania this year. Get your guys who would not typically be over or having a hard time getting over, put them in a battle royal with something at stake, which personally speaking, if I was Triple H, I would do like a US Championship, Intercontinental Championship #1 contender thing.
Yeah.
That's where your guys like Bronson Reed and Chad Gable,
and Grayson
Waller's, Carmelo Hayes, like you do like something like that, right?
That's where they'll all shine.
One thing too that could be really dope is you don't even have to do like a 30-man battle royal or 20-man battle royal, but you could do like a 15-man battle royal. You know, just whatever. And you keep WrestleMania pretty light. You save these big matches for WrestleMania. But the championship matches matter. But you have to do something at Elimination Chamber to make up for it. But not to be so long-winded about this, Billy, here's what I like about the championship matches on Elimination Chamber. You shock the world. DIY wins the tag titles. The reaction for them tonight was incredible. People will, continue to buy into them.
Yep.
You got to do something with Judgment Day breaking up. If Rhea Ripley was the winner at Elimination Chamber and she defended her gold, but Damian Priest and Finn Balor can't, it's another piece of the story of, hey, they're inevitably splitting. They get to WrestleMania, they lose the belts. Damian Priest obviously shouldn't have that belt. Raw after WrestleMania, Damian Priest cashes in on who? Drew McIntyre.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Like, you could do a lot of stuff. I didn't mention Cody. I don't like the idea of a contract signing, but I do like the idea of Cody being involved in this show. Maybe a contract signing works, and maybe like this requires more thought, but I would have a segment for Cody Rhodes to declare his WrestleMania choice at Elimination Chamber in front of 60,000 people.
So, okay. So make him think.
Make people think that Cody will not choose Roman.
Yeah.
Make people think that it's not happening. The moment that Cody Rhodes officially declares for Roman Reigns, the 60,000 plus people will go fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So you save that moment, and if you really, really want to do a segment, because they've done these pay-per-views where it's like the Grayson Waller effect or something like that. Let's say I don't hate this contract signing thing.
Yeah.
What if Roman Reigns and The Rock is not on the table? Because that's what I'm factoring in.
That's what I was thinking.
On the table, yes, you put them on Elimination Chamber 1,000%.
Right.
Which maybe it's the best time to do it now that Punk and Rollins can't wrestle.
Right.
But it would be really, really dope. It would be really, really dope if you actually had the contract signing where Nick Aldis, like on SmackDown before Chamber, Nick Aldis is like, oh, by the way, you're required. Your presence is required in Australia.
Yeah,
I will see you there. And you can do this whole thing where Adam Pearce and Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis and Reigns are in the ring, and it just becomes a contract signing. And obviously, like many contract signings, they don't go the right way. And you have Cody send people home happy because he beats the shit out of Roman Reigns and Solo and all that stuff. Like, you got to make people happy. You could do something like that.
Can I offer a question?
Yeah.
And one thing that comes to my mind is how do we get Cody over to SmackDown? And I've seen a lot of people on.
You don't.
You don't.
Nope.
Because I've seen a lot of people offering the idea that maybe they do something with LA Knight, trade him over there.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Streams ago where you could do trades and you can 100%.
Mm-hmm.
1 trillion% you can.
Yeah.
It's not required. The more and more that I think about this, bro, I mean, and just think about this logically, Cody inevitably moves to SmackDown
because he gets to choose who he wants to face.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're trying to make sense of it from a brand split perspective, Cody could be on Raw. Cody could be on SmackDown and show up or whatever, you know, based on the invite from Nick Aldis, because that's what they're doing, which thankfully is a cool thing. General managers are being like, hey, I'm lending you this person for
this.
like
offering up damage control tonight, or the Kabuki Warriors was
I
awesome.
like that a lot, bro.
Yeah, so, I'm a big fan of that stuff.
So for me, it's like you could have Cody kind of do that in the meantime, but Cody's on Raw. Cody declares for the WWE Championship, and then at that point, contractually, he's obligated to go to SmackDown. Right. That's where we get a trade. And this is where things get really cool, though, right? Who is going to be the person that gets traded to Raw on behalf of SmackDown?
It should be LA Knight.
It could be LA Knight, but what does that say about LA Knight? He's a massive star. Right? He's on Cody's level.
Yeah.
What about Jade Cargill? Massive star on Cody's level.
Right.
You know, first Jade Cargill has to be on SmackDown, but my point
is
that
I do think that logically and where they're at, star power and stuff like that, you want to make LA Knight the big star that he so rightfully deserves to be. That's how you do it. You trade him over with the use of Cody Rhodes, kind of like how they instantly made Jay a star.
Yeah.
You know, because when Cody announced Jay, it felt like, oh man, like Jay's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's coming over here as a single guy, and Cody made that seem big. So they do the same thing with LA Knight.
Yeah, and that, like, that's the cool thing is, like, there's a million ways to go about it. But before he wins the championship, he doesn't have to be on SmackDown, which is cool because then, you know, inevitably, if he does win the championship and he has to be on SmackDown, Adam Pearce, this can cause a couple things. It could change Adam Pearce in a way, right? I just lost my top star, you know, whatever it may be. And like, you could use that to inspire more creative decisions. But this is, like I said, it's not a problem that WWE has. This is really one of the times where
they're going to be okay.
Well, also too, man, you got to think like the Punk thing. Yeah, it sucks that it's unfortunate, but we're kind of like in a really cool situation because when you look at WrestleMania, Jimmy versus Jay, right? It's got to be on the card. Tag team championship matches, the best way to do it to get more people on the card, multi-man matches. Why? We saw what happened last year. WrestleMania, Seth Rollins main event or no main event, it doesn't matter. But I think they should really lean into Seth Rollins not main eventing. That should be, honest to God, that, like, to me, that's a really big thing for Seth Rollins this year. Lean into Seth Rollins not main eventing. Do it. Lean into him not main eventing. Give it to the women. It causes a big reason for Seth Rollins to turn heel. Right. WrestleMania 41, Seth Rollins and CM Punk, you know, you can do that. Like, you can do something where they main event if you want. If you want. You don't have to, but you could. But it just
right now there's so many options.
Of course, and who knows what the product will look like a year from now.
But there were some other things on the show that I kind of wanted to talk to you about.
For sure, and we are definitely going to get to that. But I do want to read some super chats first. So Rick Corrales for $5 says, do you think that's what Heyman was doing by telling Jimmy he's the real hire to the head of the table? I mean, the downfall of the bloodline. And Rick, this is a great question. I always think about this interaction between Paul Heyman and Jimmy. And obviously when you factor in Roman and Solo and like the whole group, to answer this question very simply, I think Paul Heyman is not going to be part of the bloodline much longer. And I think the best part about this is when we talk about CM Punk coming back and getting his main event, he's going to need a wise man of his own. And the person to help facilitate that could be
no other than Paul Heyman himself.
Yeah. So there's a lot of cool things that they could do with this, but I think Jimmy and Jay and Solo Sikoa and Bloodline, like this whole issue with them, it's the end is coming.
Yes.
What inning are we in? Michael Cole was not fucking around when he said that on commentary. What inning? Paul Heyman.
What inning are we in now?
Yeah. We know what's happening. WWE is staying on course. WWE has not changed up at all in the past year. This is not Vince McMahon running the show.
They've just swerved you. That's it.
Yeah, and that's all this is. Everything that WWE is doing right now is to make you think what you know is what
false.
You think you know is actually false. And the cool thing is, I like that perspective of storytelling, because for me, how many times, Billy, did we talk about potential winners for the Royal Rumble? Oh, they could do this, they could do that.
Yeah.
What did they really go with?
The
Bayley,
one person, the two people that made sense.
Based on the stories they've told us for a year, though.
Yeah, it made perfect logical sense.
Oh, hey, Punk's back in the company. He's going to win the Royal Rumble now.
And now guess what they're going to do?
This was our plan. It was always going to be Cody and Roman. We never changed our mind.
Look at the trickle effect. They make you think, oh, who can win? Oh, anybody can. Blah, blah, blah. No, it's going to be the same people. Oh, well, who's Cody going to face? And nobody's talking about Bayley. She's teasing that she's going to face Rhea. Like, it's just those things where then it's going to be, oh, well, is Cody really going to win? Yeah, Cody's going to win.
It's been in plain sight for a long time. Thank you, Rick, for the super chat. Robin extended his membership for 28 months. Just got home. Happy to see you two are streaming while I game on WWE 2K23. Also, before the new one drops, I acknowledge the Billy Show. Well, unfortunately, that's not his channel. That's not his show name. So, sorry, bud.
Listen, pal. It's my ship, and I'm steering it.
Ooh, Robin plays games. Shout out to you. Thank you for extending your membership. Justin Kennington dropped another $2 super chat. AOP versus Street Profits as Chamber for SmackDown tag titles. Well, Judgment Day's got to drop those belts before then. I don't know if that's going to be realistic, but we'll see what happens. Obviously,
right? I mean, they got to get the belts off.
Yeah. Let me just preface everything too. They got to split up those tag titles. And Cody's got to finish.
There's still a lot of work to do and not enough time for the Elimination Chamber, I feel like.
No, we got a month. Yeah, no. If you watch the product today, it was very clear. Rhea Ripley is not going to be happy with Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Damian Priest was talking about no more distractions, and Damian Priest almost lost the match like 3-4 different times in the match. Right, the Judgment Day storyline's been so good, and obviously when you factor in R-Truth and everything, it's like everything is so easy to just see how it's going to go down.
Yeah. And it looks like there's a chance maybe we get Awesome Truth one more time.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, just because I'm not big on nostalgia stuff, but who knows? It could work. The story.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say it can work just for the mere reason if you want another tag team.
Yeah, why not? I mean, anytime R-Truth is on TV.
I'm just saying. I watched in 2016. I watched Heath Slater and Rhino. So
yeah.
So like, come on, it is what it is.
Yep. Anyways, thank you all for those super chats. If you guys want to drop super chats or become a member, definitely do that. We'll read your comments and stuff on the screen. Billy, hit me. What you got?
So I really want to dive into Bayley.
Okay.
And I want to talk about what she's actually going to do and where Bayley is going to land here. And is this story as simple as the Cody story, to where it's Roman Reigns or nothing? Or is there a potential that Bayley could go out and possibly face somebody like Rhea Ripley? Me personally, I don't think so. I think that they're going to stay the course, but I would love to know your thoughts on. Yeah.
No, not. That's not the story they've been telling us. Obviously, when you look at what they've been doing with Damage Control for the past year, I mean, I think it's been pretty obvious that Bayley is not going to be in the group. How they go about it, I don't know. That's the one part to me is like everybody predicts that it's going to be them turning on Bayley, and that's always a possibility, right? But they haven't really been a dickhead to Bayley verbally, like to her face. It's the stuff that you see that, like, you know, it's when she goes back there to celebrate with them, and it's their facial expressions, it's how they react, their mannerisms, it's stuff like that. So they haven't really confronted the split up right away, and maybe this is where we get Bayley turning on them, right? Like that's
almost like Sami Zayn.
Well, no, it's different.
Obviously, it's much different considering the group and stuff like that. But I just wonder how they do something like that in that scenario. You know what I mean? If they're gonna do a turn and have Bailey turn, I like you just said. I mean, there's not enough friction yet for Bailey to necessarily turn. All
Yeah.
it is just facial expressions.
So, what would you think is more ideal then?
I genuinely think if you're gonna do it, you have it be done. So number one, we still have to go through the chamber, right?
Yeah.
The elimination still has to, and I think I seen somebody in the chat. There's like 10 weeks left of TV before WrestleMania. So there's a lot of TV to be told here, and they can't give you everything all at once,
Yeah.
and they can't like they're not gonna throw everything at the dartboard and just like it. Things are gonna make sense here shortly, and to me, I do think that you just it be as simple as Bailey choosing Io Sky and letting it be like a shock thing to somebody like Io Sky or Dakota Kai, them all be shocked by the fact that Bailey, because then Bailey can bring up, oh, well, I've seen your facial expressions. I've seen how you've acted towards me behind my quote unquote back and all of those things. And I think it really is and can be as simple as that when it comes to the storytelling with Bailey and Io Sky. And obviously those two will go on to WrestleMania and put on a great match. I don't care what you say. But I genuinely think that the story it's compelling enough to main event if you think about it.
Yeah.
The story itself can main event.
And
Especially
it's not
with
a compelling
10
story, bro. It's one of the top stories in the company.
Exactly. That's what
Over
I'm
a
saying.
year.
So you got 10 weeks of TV left. How do we get there? You know, and you almost have, I think we talked about it on our prediction stream for the Royal Rumble. You almost have Dakota Kai kind of sit somewhere in the middle, right? To where
Yeah.
she doesn't know what to do. She's confused. All of those things. So I do want to see how this story plays out. I'm going to let it play out. But I do just believe it's as simple as Io Sky. Obviously, I do believe Rhea and Becky will face each other at WrestleMania. But yeah, no, I mean that's
Wait,
just my initial
Bailey and who?
excuse me, Becky and Rhea.
Got you. Okay, I
Yeah.
was confused first. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
The Bailey and Becky, Rhea, Io thing is really intriguing because WWE has planted seeds technically for both, right?
Yep.
But in different ways. There's way more layers being unpeeled or being peeled back, I should say, with Io and Bailey. Now, obviously, this is me just speculating like fantasy booking or whatever. But since you bring up the Bailey and Io thing, what if we get to the point where Bailey, she says she's going to make her decision Friday, and it's kind of like clickbait. Like,
Yeah, that's what I think it is.
Like, what if it's like a thing where like Bailey ponders with his decision for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's not
10 weeks
really,
of TV left.
and like it wouldn't be a bad idea if Damage Control added a new member here. And I swear, like I was thinking about this too. Like Damage Control to me is going to keep going, right?
Yep.
What if they do a whole storyline of Bailey gets attacked backstage before she makes her announcement Friday? And the idea is that the hope was Damage Control brought somebody in to take out Bailey. Nobody knows who it is, right?
Yeah.
But Bailey gets taken out, and therefore she can't make her announcement. There you go. You just prolonged it. Bailey's not cleared. She can't be on TV. And then what if they, whoever joins Damage Control, I don't know who it would be. I don't even know if it would be a scenario where it's like somebody joining, but we know that Damage Control hired somebody. I don't know.
Or it could be as simple as one of the Damage Control members doing it.
But they just don't reveal it to us.
Right.
Bailey then finds out eventually who it was, and she goes after Io Sky, right?
Yeah.
Like that could be a really cool thing if they prolong this till after Elimination Chamber. Bailey finds out who it is, what's going on, and she calls out Io Sky. And the cool thing is I saw somebody bring it up in the chat. They said, well, who would help Bailey? Because she needs somebody to come to her aid. Well, I think you have Shotzi, who is a babyface. You have Naomi.
There's a lot of people who have had problems with damage control throughout the year.
Yeah, so like there's a lot of ways to go about it. I think for me personally, I think it's really dope for Bailey to go against Io because the story that they've been telling is so great, but also I miss babyface Bailey. In a weird way, she's actually been a babyface, but she's not because she's still a heel.
And if you look at it, if you look at it, this is a more mature babyface Bailey. This isn't hugs and I love you's babyface run. No, this is a real babyface run. Like, this is somebody who I'm gonna legitimately take serious as my champion. This is somebody who I can get behind just for the mere reason of, damn, you've just told me a really good story, and now I want to believe in you.
Well, Bailey, I mean, it just goes to show you how great Bailey is, right? But I think what this really does long term is look at how Bailey has been. Like, I see this on a personal level. Like, when I watch this, I'm like, man, she's really just been making everybody look good for the last few years.
Yeah.
Bailey didn't get talked about as much as Sasha and Charlotte and Becky, right?
Right.
But Bailey, if anything, I can argue had a greater contribution to like growing the division. And obviously Damage Control. I mean, look at what she did for Damage Control. Like, that was massive for the women's division. We seen that on a show where nobody expected it. It wasn't leaked. It happened, and they turned it around like crazy, right?
Yeah. Do you remember how bad it seemed at first?
But I loved it. I marked out because I'm a huge NXT guy. I've watched these women outside of WWE.
But do you remember how slow it was, is what I'm trying to get to. Like, the whole Damage Control story took a really long time for people to get behind.
So here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like anything else Triple H has done, this is actually a perfect example of reconditioning people. It takes time.
Yeah,
Triple H,
absolutely.
that was one of the first things that Triple H.
That was like the step and the sprinkle to it.
Yeah. So I think the Bailey thing is like a really unique situation. But also let's throw this in, right? Let's throw this little factor in.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say my fantasy booking is completely wrong and Bailey just says Friday she's going to challenge Rhea Ripley. Let's just say she did that, right?
Yeah.
Technically speaking, until a contract signing, no match,
nothing's official.
So they can always try to swerve people until,
like 4 weeks out or something like that.
And then the contract signing's official. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of things that they can do with that.
Like, she could announce that she's going to face Rhea next week, and then the following week they could go into, oh, well, they're going to do something with Rhea and Bailey. There's just a lot of things you can play into and prolong it.
Yeah, this is also WWE's way of getting talent on both shows without breaking the rules of a brand split.
Making it make sense, which is nice. It's nice having a brand split or a brand split and then having people travel over to shows and it all logically makes sense.
Yeah. A lot of excuse me, a lot of things that they can do.
Yeah.
Which obviously makes it fun. And it's definitely one of the matches I'm excited about because in the last year they've done a lot, and it's like I always go back to the WWE and Julia thing, right? Like WWE's bringing in Julia. There's a lot of rumors that Julia is going to go to NXT. Can that be a fake report from WWE sources to make you think Julia would never show up on SmackDown? Now, would she get this massive pop like she's famous or something? Maybe the crowd will know depending on the city they're in, but maybe not, right?
Right.
The cool thing is though,
it condition the audience.
Again, it's reconditioning the audience.
Triple H isn't always looking for the massive pop, just so everybody knows. If he can get it, he's gonna get it.
Triple H has shown us that, like, Vince's WWE was always the moments.
Right.
People wait for the moments. Triple H is like, oh, you were expecting the moment right now. Why was the Sami Zayn bloodline story so effective? You didn't know when it was going to happen.
Right, exactly.
That's what we're seeing with the bloodline. That's what we've seen with Judgment Day. That's what we're seeing with Damage Control. So, like, that's a really cool thing in my opinion. And obviously I like that. I did want to turn our attention to something else.
Yeah.
We kind of brought this up before, about the Nick Aldis thing backstage segment with Adam Pearce. And I just want to bring this up. Andrade's on Raw. We don't really know the direction for Andrade on Raw. Very interesting time for him to return right before WrestleMania. What do? They'll probably put him in the chamber match. I don't know. But they made it a big deal that he joined Raw. Cool. Braun Breaker's calling Nick Aldis. Braun Breaker's coming to SmackDown. I need to get first your opinion on Andrade being on Raw, but then I also want to hear from you and your perspective of Braun Breaker going to SmackDown. What do you think is the play there?
Andrade going to Raw always made sense in my eyes. I always thought Andrade was a Raw player, and I thought it was really funny when he said he told Nick Aldis, he said, "Hey, make sure to say hello to Zelina Vega for me." That was a cool little callback. I'm big into callbacks. But I will say that my perspective on Andrade is that's a legitimate guy to, eventually maybe go up against somebody like Gunther. To me, I look at him like he's a serious player on Raw. So that's just adding more depth to your roster. And then the play into Braun Breaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
The play into Braun Breaker was so interesting because there were so many little pieces to it, and I think it goes to what we talk about over here, and that's the GMs and how much sense it all makes, right? Like, oh, you got a guy? Pfft, watch this, I got a guy too, and how legit they make it. It's almost like basketball teams, right? Like, oh, the Lakers got LeBron. Well, guess what? The Suns got KD. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it allows an argument for people to have about the two shows.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Raw has Andrade, Gunther. Well, SmackDown's got LA Knight, Braun Breaker. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
It's that it now allows both of these shows to, in a sense, both be an A show.
Yeah.
Because you're making the players on the show feel like A players all around.
2 years ago, Billy, I made a video. I want to say it was 2 years ago, maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I made a video about why they need to bring back general managers and the fact that WWE should not be competing with other companies in this world because that's dumb. They should be competing within their own company. Yeah. The idea was, from a television perspective, tell a story of you have Raw versus SmackDown and there's like a genuine beef. And it's funny because it's playing out right now. When Nick Aldis gets that call from Braun Breaker and the way he says it, the way he acts on camera, it's like, oh, I'm bragging about this. Like, not trying to diminish Andrade, but hey, I
got too.
Yeah. One thing I want to point out, because I talked about Punk and maybe Heyman coming together. What would be your feeling if Paul Heyman, because of the NXT thing, it goes back to the NXT thing when Paul Heyman was there. What would be your feeling of Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman? Like Paul Heyman leaving Bloodline.
Yeah, I mean,
and Braun Breaker's there.
So my feeling on that is you're just instantly creating another top guy, right? I mean, I do understand that Paul Heyman has worked with some guys that maybe didn't work out all the way, but I also understand that right now Paul Heyman is in and is doing some of the best work I've ever seen him do. So I think adding him, number one, it comes down to him and if he wants to, right? Obviously, this guy can go out and do whatever he wants now. And, maybe after Roman, he doesn't want to, continue on TV. That's a question that we have to ask too. But I think if you add Paul Heyman to Braun Breaker, you legitimize him right away. Yeah. He now becomes the guy, because do you remember the shot on the bench with Adam Pearce and then Paul Heyman sitting there next to Roman Reigns? That instantly propelled Roman Reigns to the next stratosphere. And it's about to do the same thing. If it is the case that maybe he does go with Braun Breaker, it's the exact same thing that you get here. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of intrigue for me there, man.
Yeah.
With the Braun Breaker thing, it's like, I like the fact that they made him a big deal. And, what I love so much too about this is technically it doesn't mean that Braun Breaker is signing with SmackDown. And I think it would be really dope to see a conniving side to Adam Pearce. Like Nick Aldis kind of revealed his plan a little too soon, and Adam Pearce is hey, I brought
watch this. Yeah.
This is just based on reports. I don't know if it's true, but there was something that leaked today that Brock Lesnar and Dominic Mysterio was the plan for Elimination Chamber. Which I don't know how I feel about that. I like Dominic Mysterio. I don't know. Obviously, Brock Lesnar doesn't seem to be part of the plans. But they were saying, Braun Breaker took Brock's spots in the Rumble, which I think that was pretty obvious when you seen him spear everybody and doing that.
Right. Yeah, you seen how he came in.
But like, what do you think if like maybe Adam Pearce ends up being conniving, brings in Braun Breaker to Raw, and you have Braun Breaker versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania? Because now here's the thing, right? You get Gunther for Adam Pearce, right? To make sense of this in such a short-term build, hey, why does Braun Breaker get this singles match at WrestleMania against Gunther? Like, if it was supposed to be Brock's, right, why did it go to Gunther, right, and Braun Breaker, right?
Right.
Adam Pearce's tactic We don't know this, right? But Adam Pearce, when he found out that Nick Aldis was getting a call from Braun Breaker, who's to say Adam Pearce didn't call Braun Breaker and say, hey, Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania against Gunther, you're one shot to make it on Raw. That's your incentive to sign with us. And here's the cool thing, right? You have guys like Andrade and Bronson Reed and Chad Gable. Now they have a little bit of an issue with Adam Pearce. You can create some compelling TV with talent being like, oh, so you're just going to bring in guys from NXT and give them chances over us, right?
Right, yeah.
Do some cool shit with that. But then somebody, you know, if they're saying, hey, what would be the purpose of SmackDown losing out on Braun Breaker? Nick Aldis, you know, he got Randy Orton. He got he lost his chance with Punk, obviously, because Punk's on Raw, but he got Randy Orton. Nick Aldis is kind of an interesting recruiter. Okay, hey, let's get Jade Cargill to SmackDown.
Right.
And, you know, if Julia comes to WWE, he signs Julia.
Yep.
Naomi just came back. Hey, I'm signing Naomi.
Right.
And that's kind of your way to make up for the fact that Braun Breaker and stuff, you know, all these guys are going to Raw too. Like the cool thing is I like the fact that I could think of logical ways to get people on the show.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about TV right now is that there's so many logical ways, and it's cool because everything that's happening on TV right now is all logically aligning together, which I think needs to be credited to WWE and Triple H and what they're doing over there. It's that everything is logically making sense, which is all we asked for. If people don't remember, it's what we asked for the longest time. Was can we get logic?
That's it.
That's it.
I have loose ends and be logical and stuff. And the cool thing is, like, I feel like tonight, bro, was a really good episode of Raw. Like, I don't know if I was expecting that because I just feel like this. Maybe it's just the mood with like WWE right now because of the social media stuff and just this talk of like so much bullshit. I don't know if that like dark cloud that kind of followed them, like if maybe I wasn't as optimistic for Raw, but it kind of felt like a really big episode and first hour commercial free. Kofi Kingston and Gunther, like these things I don't want to talk too much in depth about because they're just matches.
As compelling as what was happening, really.
I wouldn't say they're not as compelling. Like they're good. Like the women,
they're good.
It just to me, it kind of felt like wow, like this was a really solid episode. Great matches. The tag team match was great, but the storytelling was great. Having Damage Control on Raw was great, and Nia Jax and Rhea won't even make it to WrestleMania or something. Like just these little things was really cool. And then Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre just really took the cake to cap it off. And you know, I can get used to this, man. I feel like I'll tell you, and I'll say this a million times, but using Twitter while watching wrestling, regardless of the company, is just not fun.
I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
I don't. I'll tweet after the fact, you know, and maybe go on Twitter after this or something like that. And do my little tweets there and give my thoughts over there. But at the end of the day, you don't need to listen to another person's opinion on your TV show. I don't care to. I'm sorry. I know people come here for that, but this is all after the fact. You know what I mean? I don't need it while I'm watching it. I don't.
I say this a million times. I'll keep saying it. My opinions on wrestling, my fantasy booking on wrestling, the stuff that I do on wrestling, not here to change your opinion, not asking you to agree with my opinion.
Nope.
Have dialogue and talk about things. Shout out to Mike because this is just funny to me. And honestly, who knows, man? Because these guys could actually wrestle.
Yeah, they're both wrestlers.
Let me just say this because I don't want somebody to take this out of context. I'm not saying put them in Hell in a Cell. But if they do ever go back to Survivor Series, like Raw versus SmackDown type shit.
What a perfect match.
Dude, not in Hell in a Cell, though, but just like let them wrestle once. Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Almost like Eric Bischoff and Stone Cold.
Bro, this is not even on the same level. This is different. Both former NWA world champions, dog. Come on now.
Imagine Michael Cole on commentary with that.
Bro. I don't know.
Two former NWA champs.
I'll keep it short and sweet. We're over an hour 40. It's almost 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Just really good episode. Two things I want to do. Shout out to David Decker, loyal viewer of the streams. Ango and Billy, my team and I are going to Special Olympics State Winter Games in floorball. So congratulations, David.
Awesome.
Best of luck.
Best of luck, David.
Appreciate you guys obviously all coming around here. And the only other thing I want to say was Billy.
Yes, sir.
SmackDown. Cody potentially could show up. Cody could potentially challenge Roman. There's a huge fallout from Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Logan Paul, Grayson Waller, stuff like that. I just want you to tell me, what is one thing that needs to happen this week on SmackDown?
We need to, and we've talked about it tonight, and I stand by that we need to continue on this Bailey story. I don't think we need the answer right now. I have to see it. I have to see it play out. But to your credit, there was one other thing besides that I need to see, and I need to see my faction put together with Grayson Waller, Austin Theory, and Logan Paul. Give it to me.
Will be interesting to see if it happens. They obviously had to tie into Royal Rumble. One thing I need to see from SmackDown this week. One thing. It's just like the one thing I'm asking for, okay?
Okay.
I need to see WWE go all in on the Final Testament.
All right.
I need to see them have a big splash and set up something big. And actually, there's one more thing I need them to see. That I need to see on SmackDown. We didn't get it on Raw. I need Nick Aldis to use his executive authority as general manager of SmackDown to set up qualifying matches for Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
Begin that process now, and then the following Raw, we get qualifying matches.
Yep, I like that. So
that's what I would do. I would like to see that. I want to see Elimination Chamber get the ball rolling ASAP because
we're building for 60, 70,000 people.
And got to do it. And there's a lot of cool things, obviously, follow up with LWO and all this different stuff. But I want to start seeing the build to WrestleMania truly come to formation. There's a lot of questions right now with Punk and all these different things. Let's get there Friday. Let's start getting the ball rolling, and that would be very big for me. So
yeah. I agree.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our WWE Raw post show. Several hundred people stopped by.
Awesome.
So much love. Appreciate it all, guys. Thank you for sticking with us tonight. I try not to keep the Raw streams too long, but sometimes we just get into deep conversation and
it just happens.
Like I'll be back, I think, tomorrow for NXT. Billy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Billy TKO on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. YouTube.com/Ango. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time.